just get a mic check real quick. Sweet, we're hot, we're rolling, we Gucci. Kind of wait a minute or two here to get things rolling. Just load it up. Think 4th and 1 was the last league I was in. Yeah, perfect. Things are going nice and smooth. This is what I like. Looking for something here real quick before we get going. Gonna let a couple people start watching. We got 2 people watching. What's up, fellers? I think one of them is actually me, though. Yeah, Jesus. My cat's trying to get some string. Situating her first. Gonna wait about another, couple minutes, 2-3 minutes here. While we're waiting, talking about the NFL, I guess while we let some people come in. I don't remember what I saw the spread for the Vikings-Eagles game, but I think I'm going to roll with the Vikings, and I think they should be like 3 to 4 point favorites, maybe 3.5. Look for them to win. I'd say probably like 27, 24. I'm probably thinking 23 to 20. That's what I'm thinking. And it's hard to say if Case leads a game-winning drive or if their defense makes a late stop, but that's what I'm thinking. 23-20. Defense makes a late stop. That's what I'm going to go with. Now, on the New England-Jacksonville side of things, saw New England's a 9.5 point favorite. So, think New England's going to win that one. But we're probably going to be looking at like a 28-22 kind of a game, 28-23. So just kind of how this deal is going to go is I'll start rolling around here in the next minute or so, and if you have questions during it, comments, I have the comments open. I'll be answering here. If you miss it live and have questions or comments, do that in the social media thread in our Discord chat. Yeah, looking at like a 30 to 40 minute show. Should be good here. I got 2 full pages worth of stuff to brush over. Some of them are going to be a little fast, but yeah, about another 30 seconds, then we'll be ready to rock. Oh, who regressed? Oh, Wayne Gallman with his 2 fumbles. Yeah, great. Think we'll start going now. Yeah, we got a person or 2 watching. That's all right with me. So, welcome into the second episode of the 4th and 1 podcast. Not really a radio podcast, more of a YouTube live podcast. Basically what we're going to do here is we got some topics today. We're going to go over some breaking social media news in the league, talk about the players of the month for both the AFC and the NFC. Also going to be going over our way too early awards watch, talking about some of the key upcoming matchups for the next 3 to 4 advances, and we're going to be predicting the playoffs, as well as going through our NFC South divisional breakdown and kind of talking about last week, this week, and then next week's divisional breakdowns. So basically what we got for our social media news is that Andrew Luck was benched by the Indianapolis Colts in the second half of their 30-15 loss versus the Houston Texans. It's reported that he is on the trading block, and the Colts are looking to shop Andrew Luck and kind of build for the future. Another big thing we have found is that the Cowboys are actively shopping Ezekiel Elliott in trade discussions. Whether something will get done, we don't think it will, but we have a couple of teams that we know that are interested in Ezekiel Elliott. So if you're going to see Ezekiel Elliott move, week 7 and 8 are going to be the key weeks of when he's going to be moved. Next one we got is there are some quarterback questions in Denver. Jimmy G is unhappy with the coaches, and the coaches are unhappy with Jimmy G. Could be seeing a split between the two parties in the offseason. He's most likely going to stay there this season, but watching the offseason, trade rumors are just a flat-out cut from the roster. So Jimmy G could be moving, and Denver could be looking for a quarterback. Maybe Andrew Luck in the discussion in the offseason, maybe this season. Andrew Luck, I feel, will be moved in the offseason or cut. Zeke will be kept and re-signed. And then Jimmy G will be cut in the offseason. Or maybe in a trade package, Jimmy G and some picks for Andrew Luck. That could be the case as well. So that's where we're kind of at for some social media news. Move on to the players of the month that we've seen. So in the AFC, looking at just some statistical stuff here while we're doing it, is our offensive player of the month for the AFC, or I guess you could say the first 5.5 games, 5.5, 6 weeks, is going to be Will Redding. Now, he's right here on my team, but I guess we should go here. He is first in the league in passing yards. Now, he has played one extra game, so his yards per game average puts him at 4th. So when Matt Ryan plays equal games, he might get a little pushed up there. A.J. McCarron's played a few less games due to subbing in for Deshaun Watson. And then Cam Newton, who's played a little bit less, is also there. So that's what we're looking at. In terms of touchdowns, he is 8 touchdowns ahead of A.J. McCarron. Interceptions-wise, he is thrown double digits, so he's up there. But he's got that completion percentage of a 70% with a rating of a 124.7, which is fairly good. He has not been sacked a ton, if you just kind of look here, which doesn't necessarily matter in Offensive Player of the Week, but they have one of the better offensive lines, which is helping his production. Going for the AFC Defensive Player of the Month, we have co-defensive players of the month. We have, first off, is Tevin Pitts from the Houston Texans. He has, so far on the season, 12.5 sacks, 24 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss with some deflections. So he is currently leading the league as a rookie in sacks and just being a very dominating force off the edge. Now, he's only got a couple sack lead, 1.5 over Solomon Thomas and then 2 over Jeremiah Tachu. But those are both veteran players, and Pitts is a rookie, so that's why he gets the nod. The next co-AFC Defensive Player of the Month is Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler is 4th in the league in interceptions with 5, but that's not what is getting him co-defensive player of the month. What is getting him that award is the 4 pick sixes he's had. He has taken 4 of those interceptions and returned them to the house for a whopping... His interception average, when he gets a pick, he's returning it on average 29 yards. And his long is only 36, so he's moving significant field position. So if he gets a pick at inside the 10-yard line, New England's going to get the ball at about the 30, 35, inside the 40, as opposed to inside their own 10, which is huge on a turnover. So that's who we got there. You got Will Redding, Malcolm Butler, and Tevin Pitts as the AFC Offensive and Co-Defensive Players of the Month. Next in the NFC, Offensive Player of the Month, we have none other than Mr. Cheese, Julio Jones, who is 3rd in the league with 288 receiving yards, which leads all NFC players, 21.8 yards per reception. And if you look at not these guys who get 3, 7, whatever, and then Brandon Cooks with his whopping 29, but out of guys with over 20 catches, Julio Jones is, I believe, second or third. Yeah, he's third in yards per reception, so they're big chunk plays. He is leading the NFL in yards per game, and he is second or third. Yep, second in receiving touchdowns, behind only Courtland Sutton, who was a candidate for AFC Offensive Player of the Month, but we went towards the quarterback on that one. But if we did have a co-one, he'd be number 2. So Julio Jones, who's having just a fantastic season, who's only played 4 games. He's done these stats in 4 games, whereas Cooks and Sutton have both played 6. So that's why Julio, give him 2 games once Houston and New England have a bye. He's going to really step that up and be pretty far ahead of both these guys. His yards per catch and all that may end up looking similar to Cooks than Sutton's. Going on to the NFC Defensive Player of the Month, we have Mr. Solomon Thomas from the San Francisco 49ers, leading the NFC in sacks with 11. He's got 36 tackles, 5 for a loss, and he's got 2 forced fumbles. So he is making significant impacts in the defensive game, especially run stuffing, pass rushing. So the 49ers are having a decent start to their season, and defensively, the main reason is Solomon Thomas. So that's kind of who we got there. In the NFC, Julio and Solomon Thomas, those are the big impact players I've seen so far. Going on now to kind of the way too early awards. In the MVP race, I can't even see the awards technically until I think week 8 or 9. But you got, sticking in the stat realm, going the whole league. Will Redding right now is probably leading that pace. 21 touchdowns, 10 picks, 1,900 yards. Basically replacing what Brady did last year, and he's doing an okay job at it. His pace, he's actually going to outpace Brady yards and touchdown, maybe even interceptions-wise. Basically every stat he's going to do better in. Slightly, he's got 2% less completion, and I think a 3 less rating. But he's going to look to outpace Brady. Next up is A.J. McCarron, who took over for an injured Deshaun Watson, who you can see his ratings here are pretty, they're not that good. 79 awareness, 85 short, 80 mid, 86 throw power. But he is coming along nice, just to dive into what he's done in his career. 13 touchdowns, 5 picks, 1,600 yards. If he keeps that pace up, he's going to be pushing neck and neck with Will Redding down the stretch. Now, Deshaun Watson is going to be returning, I believe. I honestly don't even know how long he's out. I should have checked that. Sorry for jumping around here, but I want to check just so I can continue to do this, because that's a good question. So if we go into our injury report, you'll see my bitch-ass tight end hurt. Oh, he's only out 2 more games. Deshaun Watson's going to be coming back in a week. So that's going to be something interesting to watch. Does he stay with A.J. McCarron, or does he go back to Deshaun Watson? We are going to talk about that a little bit later towards the end of the podcast. So after those 2 guys, it comes down really to Mr. Cheese himself, not Julio Jones, but Courtland Sutton. Pacing the league in catches, second in yards, first in touchdowns, 4 ahead of the next closest player. Basically all Weezy does is all of his buttons throw to Courtland Sutton. So, that helps, absolutely. But he's just having a fantastic year. He's on pace to break all of his career highs, I guess, after one season. He's going to break the receptions he set. He's going to get more yards, and he's going to get more touchdowns. That's where he's at right now. Look for him to probably be at about the 130 reception mark, 2,100 yards, 24 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns. That's what you're most likely going to see Courtland Sutton at. All of his games this year, he's only been held to under 120 yards twice. In one of those games, he had 4 touchdowns. So basically, if you're playing Weezy, just cover this guy. He doesn't really throw to anybody else. So looking at Rookie of the Year candidates. So those are the 3 MVP candidates. Looking towards Rookie of the Year, offensively wise, the top guy I'd say right now is you got to go way down here a little bit. Craig Frank. Craig Frank has 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 picks, a 67 completion percentage with almost 100 quarterback rating. Now, in years past, that's not necessarily the best, but if you compare him to every other rookie quarterback, Winky has more yards, but he has a minus touchdown-interception ratio. If you go down to Mr. Wolford, less yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks. He does have more rushing yards, but where is he at? He's up here. Craig Frank's going to get that nod. Now, the interesting thing about Craig Frank is his overall isn't that great, so his season's fairly impressive. He's a 75 overall, putting up solid numbers. Now, he's on pace to throw probably like 25 touchdowns, 19 picks, 39 to 4,200 yards, which isn't outstanding, but for a rookie quarterback, that's not too bad when he came in at like a 74 overall. Next up is going to be... Where is he? Okay, got him. Just had to read my writing. Whoops. We got Dontarius Tompkins from the Denver Broncos. Okay, leading all rookies, I believe, from what I checked, with 437 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 19 receptions, with a 23 yards per game average. Tompkins, 6'1", 220, so he's a very physically imposing receiver, hard to bring down. He's quick, very strong, very athletic with his jumping. Basically, if we look at his games, he's had some solid games. He's hovering around that, throwing out the 132-yard game. He's getting about 65, 70 yards a game other than this really big game he had. But other than that, he's a solid player who is really improving week by week, helping give Jimmy some weapons now that they've lost some of their key weapons from previous seasons, like Demaryius Thomas. Last guy is Mr. Eric Ross for the Oakland Raiders. His touchdowns would probably be the best way to find him. Leading all rookies in touchdown receptions from what I saw again with 3, averaging almost 20 yards a catch, 13 catches, 55 yards. Not a ton of great rookies out there, and I didn't see any really good rookie running backs. We'll take a look at some of the ones I saw that are in consideration. Ross should be looking to have a bigger role as the season goes on, which is kind of why I put him here at 3. It's because I can see his impact down the line in his role growing. Ross is an athletic freak, 6'7", almost 270, 86 speed, 82 catch. He's just a very physically imposing tight end who could easily drop 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns in any given season. Now, on the rushing mark, the best rookie I saw was this quarterback, John Wolford, which is why no running back was considered, because the best rookie was the quarterback. And he was considered, but I leaned with the other quarterback. When you go to the actual true running back, it's Rashad Penny with 120 or 220 yards. So no running back made that list, and you'll see why there, as you've seen here. Now to Defensive Rookie of the Year. The best guy we saw is actually 3rd in the NFL in tackles. It's Mr. Pet Detective Ace Ventura himself. Leading all rookies, 3rd in the league, 2nd in the NFC with 44 tackles, 2 interceptions, 4 tackles for a loss. He doesn't have any forced fumbles, blocks, safeties, or return touchdowns, but he is a very good tackling player. And he, in the draft, was actually the worst out of the first-round rated linebackers, but he's very athletic, and he's turned into a very solid player. He's moving his way up the ladder. Number 2 is Mr. Delvin McManus from New England. 44 tackles, which is 2nd in rookies, technically tied with Ace Ventura, who has more solos. McManus does. So he leads all rookies in solo tackles. They're 1A, 1B. And then 1C, they're probably 2A and 2B, because I forgot about the other guy, which I added on my way here. McManus. He's got 2 sacks, 7 for a loss. Now, I got an interception with him. He fumbled. They overturned the fumble, but his interception didn't count. So he should have 1 interception. Don't know where it went, but he does have 1 interception, I promise you. No safeties, no blocks. He's forced 2 fumbles, recovered a fumble. Maybe that was it. Maybe he recovered the fumble. I thought he got the pick, though. Yeah, he got a pick. Yeah, he got a user pick. Oh, well, who cares? Right up there, leading a very too good inside linebacker duo with Hightower and McManus. Now looking at probably the leading candidate, Tevin Pitts, 12.5 sacks, leading the league. Now, he is the beneficiary of having a 6-sack game to open the season. But outside of that, he's had at least a sack every game. But if you take out that 6-sack game and put it as average, which is 1.5, it's not as impressive, but still a very impressive start for this rookie. You can't take anything away from a 6-sack game, which is outstanding, but it is somewhat of an outlier as of now. But that's leading him to the leading candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So we have Pitts, Ace Ventura Pet Detective, and Delvin McManus as your Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates. And then again, your Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates are Craig Frank, Dontarius Tompkins, and Eric Ross. And I just saw 2 people just join in case they missed it. Right now, the way too early MVP predictions are Will Redding, AJ McCarron, and Cortland Sutton. So, yes, that's where we're at for the way too early awards. Now, just kind of wanted to touch on, because I think we should have 2, maybe 3, and I just put 4 just in case, of the key upcoming matchups. So, next week, I didn't do this upcoming week, which in hindsight I probably should have, which I'll actually do right now, just because I'm here and we got some people listening. There we go. So, some games have been played already. Oh, Jesus. Redskins, Pats, Saints, Panthers, and then Texans, Colts have already been played. Looking at some other key matchups coming out here. Giants and Eagles are going to be a very big game. Both are 3-1. Both are fighting in the very competitive, now that we have a new Giants user, NFC East. So it's going to be a very competitive game. I'm going to take the Eagles in this game over the Giants. Cowboys and Seahawks going to be another huge game, battling for... The Cowboys need to stay in that divisional race in the NFC East. Seahawks are trying to keep pace for the 3 and 4 seed. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. Jaguars-Falcons is going to be a huge game. Jaguars are trying to keep pace with the Texans for that 1-2 seed so they don't get bumped to the 5th seed. And the Falcons are undefeated, so I'm going to take Atlanta in this game. Very big game. Now, into the next few weeks, we're going to be going over week 7, 8, 9, and then probably 10, just because there's a cool matchup that has a funny impact of why I chose it. So, first one was the Bengals and Patriots. You got Nick testing his offense, and the Patriots are going to go into the game undefeated, so you're going to have the 4-1, maybe 5-1 Bengals versus the 6-0 Patriots. So teams are going to be combined for either a 10-2 or 11-1 record. So it's going to be a very big marquee matchup. Playoff seeding, divisional standings, all on the line in that game. The next one is going to be the Jets and Eagles. We got the defending Super Bowl champs Kia versus Widge. Widge has got a couple rough games coming up here, but and I'm not going to predict my games. So I'm sorry, not going to do it. That's a little biased. I'm going to pick me every time. Spoiler. I'm going to take Widge in this game as well as I did the last game. I think his roster is overall better than the Jets, although I really like what Kia can do with his run and shoot versus the Eagles defense. Kind of eliminate that heavy box that they can do. His secondary is really good, but his front seven's probably the strong point, I'd say, especially with his D-line. Next one here that I have on the list is going to be the Falcons and Cowboys. Mad is probably going to be undefeated coming into this game, or one loss. Cowboys are going to have one or two losses. This is going to be big, again, for the Cowboys to stay in that divisional race, to keep up with the Giants and the Eagles. And same with Mad. If he drops a game or two in here, that could risk his number one spot. The NFC's got about 6-7 guys, all of which can either get the 1 seed or the 6 seed, depending on where they are. And then obviously one would miss out. I think that's all we got for Week 7. Looking on to Week 8. When we go up here. Browns and Bengals could go. This could be the Rage Bowl in the game chat. Otherwise, we have the... where are they? Raiders and Chargers are going to be a solid game because it's been a good rivalry in our league. Leads to a lot of anger from Mr. Wonka in our chat. So they've had some good battles, and this is a very tight race. The Chiefs are ahead at 4-1, but the Raiders are 3-2. The Chargers and Broncos are 2-3. That's always a very competitive division with a very good race to follow. Last year, the Chiefs sort of ran away with it, but this year, I think the other teams can keep pace. Then the Jaguars and Texans. This is going to be a huge matchup for the Jaguars, especially if the Texans keep rolling. Texans currently are 6-0. Jaguars, I believe, are 3-2. So they're about 2.5 games behind the Texans. So they really need to capitalize on their two matchups versus the Texans. Looking on to Week 9. This has got quite a bit of big games. First one here is going to be the Cowboys and Giants renewed. Giants and Cowboys at this point are 3-1. When they both get into Week 9, they're probably going to be around the 4-2, 5-2, maybe 5-3 mark. No, 5-3. Yeah, maybe 5-3, depending if they didn't have a bye yet. They're going to be around the 4-2, 5-3 mark-ish in between. So it's going to be very competitive, especially keeping up with the Eagles, as I've said. NFC East has 3 really good teams. NFC South has 3 really good teams. That's why you see a lot of laps of they're the focal point. Next one is going to be the Jaguars and Chiefs. This is going to be actually a pretty big matchup. Shokan needs to keep pace with the Texans. The Chiefs need to keep that lead. They have a few tough opponents, and if they slip up, and here's the start of their difficult stretch, if they slip up here, you could see like the Raiders, the Broncos, or the Chargers sneak in to that divisional race and claim that spot. Raiders-Broncos, again, another Rage Bowl. Could be very, very interesting here. Looking for the Broncos to get 2 strip sacks, a couple of pick sixes, something to make me have to yell at Brennan in the live game chat. Next, we have the Eagles and Patriots, a cross-conference game. Going to be very interesting. The Patriots' high-powered offense, and their really good offensive line versus that Eagle pass rush, solid defense, very good offensive unit as well. It's going to be a very big clash in Foxborough Week 9. I like the Patriots in that game. Said I wouldn't predict, but I'm going to predict that game just for Widge. Next one is going to be the Falcons and Seahawks. Mad's got a pretty rough schedule here from Week 7 to 10. Going to be a big game for playoff positioning. You know, if Seahawks can eke out a win, squeak one out here, it's going to be very good for their playoff seeding to try and get a bye. In the NFC, that first-round bye is going to be huge because then you can let 3 and 6 battle it out, which are going to be equal, and then 4 and 5 battle it out, which are going to be close to equal, probably give the 5th seed the slight edge over the 4th seed. But then if you get that 2 seed, you're most likely going to play that 3 seed over that 5 seed, which could be a big advantage, depending on who wins what division. We'll do Week 10. There's only 2 big matchups to talk about that I saw. First one is New England and Dallas. This one's going to be the battle for Teo, our favorite little guy to put a cutout on and send to the group. That's going to be a huge battle. And then the Texans and Saints. Saints are 3-2 right now, struggling just a little bit, but they're going to probably get their stride here. Texans will be probably 8-1, 8-0, 9-0 heading into this game. Going to really put stress on the Texans' defense. with the Saints, how they can run the ball very well. So that's just kind of what we're looking at here for the next 4 weeks. Got some pretty big matchups. I was looking at kind of the whole schedule. 7 through 12 is going to be a very crunch time, because even if you just look quickly ahead, you got Saints, Jags, you have Houston and the Jets, you have where's the other one? Proto and the Bengals. You have in the following week. Yeah, where was it? There was another big game that I saw. The Falcons and Saints. You have the Texans and Raiders, which could be a surprising, solid matchup. Jets and Bengals. Eagles, Cowboys. Vikings, Packers, which the NFC North is heating up. The Packers are 3-1. The Vikings are 3-2. So you got some pretty interesting matchups here down the stretch. Everyone has a pretty hard schedule that are in the NFC playoff races. So don't be surprised if some surprises happen. Yeah, don't be surprised if surprises happen. So just expect the unexpected in the NFC playoffs moving forward in these next 5 weeks. Standings are going to look very different now, or 5 weeks from now, than they do right now. Moving on, just kind of going to do my early, almost mid-season playoff predictions. We'll start with the AFC and work the NFC. So, in the AFC, you got the two big dogs undefeated right now, Patriots and Texans. Both are playing outstanding. Offensive-wise, they're leading the conference in points scored. And then they're not actually leading in points allowed, but they're right up there. So, I'm actually not. I'm in kind of the middle of the pack. Huh. Interesting. Oh, well. So, what I'm starting to think for my prediction of what I took into the factor of, Texans have a harder remaining schedule from what I saw. So, plus they have to face, I believe, Shokan twice still. So, I'm going to give New England the 1 seed, Houston the 2 seed. This could easily change. These are the two teams I think at the 1 and 2 seed. You can pick your order, and then, sorry, Nick, the Bengals probably aren't going to go to the Super Bowl. You're going to need to go some 3 wide, I think, to get to that Super Bowl. Texans and Patriots are going to get those top 2 seeds unless a major injury happens, like Cortland. If Cortland Sutton gets hurt, Weezy might lose the rest of his games. I'm just letting you guys know this right now. There is a chance Weezy is nothing without Mr. Sutton. We'll see. I don't think so. But if someone can hurt him for me, that'd be okay with me. So those are your top 2 seeds. 3 and 4. I think the Bengals are going to lock up that 3 seed. I think they'll edge out the Chiefs for it. And the Chiefs have a very interesting battle. They're 1 game ahead of the Raiders, but the Raiders, they don't have as hard of a schedule. And they have a great roster, and they're starting to hit their strides. Derek Carr finally isn't garbage. So we'll see. I think this is going to be a toss-up, but I'm going to lean the Chiefs. I am going to lean the Chiefs. But if the Raiders nab that 4 seed and bump the Chiefs out or to a wild card spot, it would not surprise me. So right now, Chiefs has 4. These top teams are going to stay the same, I think. But we'll see. Now, I think the Jets are going to get the 5th seed and the Jaguars the 6th seed. Those orders could change in a snap, in a second. But your playoff picture is going to look the exact same as last year. Patriots, Texans, Bengals, Chiefs, Jags, Jets in the playoffs. The seedings might change just a hair. Texans might get the bye instead of the Jaguars. But the teams will be the exact same. So right now my matchups would be Patriots 1 and Texans 2. They get the bye. It'd be Jaguars at Bengals, 6 at the 3 seed. And then you're going to have the Jets at the Chiefs in the 5-4 seeding slot. That's what I'm thinking right now. If anything changes, it's going to be the Raiders messing up the Chiefs. I don't think 2 AFC West teams get in. I think only 1 does, unless the Jets or Jags slip up. That's how it's going to be. Now, the Jaguars do have a potential to slip up with their quarterback situation and Mike Glennon, but I think they'll edge it out. Going to the NFC, this one is a little bit tricky. Which for some, yeah. See, you got a lot of teams here with 3 wins. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with 3 wins, one that's 4-0. So you have 8 true contenders here. How I think the Falcons are going to get that 1 seed. I think he's had the 1 seed the past 2 years. I know he had it last year. Did the Saints have it year 1? Maybe. Either way, one of those guys is going to get the top seed, which right now, since the Saints are about a game and a half, 2.5 games behind the Falcons, I'll say Falcons get the 1 seed to start off. Number 2, I think it's going to be the Eagles. I'm really liking what they're doing so far. Now, they did lose to the Packers, but I think moving forward, they're a very strong team, a very strong roster, and I think they're going to get some of those divisional wins that they're going to need. Whoever wins that division is going to get the 2 seed. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to go Falcons 1, Eagles 2. Now, for the other divisional winners, the 3 and the 4 seed, number 3, I'm going to take the Seahawks. I think they're going to win the West, and I think they're going to be better than the NFC North winner, the number 4 seed, who I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings. They're a half game behind the Packers, but they've also spent, I think, 2 weeks as a CPU team. So he's done a solid job there. And he doesn't have the most difficult schedule in the world, but it's still a hard schedule. So I'll take Vikings over the Packers in this one. Those head-to-head matchups are going to be key, though. 2 guys aren't getting out of that division. It's going to be 1 guy getting out of that division. So, yeah. Now, looking at what I wrote down, this is where it gets interesting, the wild cards. So if all holds to plans, you're going to have the Packers, Saints, Cowboys, and Giants. Those 4 teams all fighting out. And with the way the Saints roster is, I'm going to take the Cowboys and Giants in those 5th and 6th seeds. It's going to be... Now, what bodes well for the Saints, they all have to play each other twice. So if they all split series, that could bode well for the Saints, who, if they're right around the same record and one of them slips up in a non-divisional game, boom, right there you go, the Saints get that edge. I mean, they play in a really tough division as well, so maybe that point's just mute and it doesn't make any sense, but hey, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a very tight NFC playoff race. AFC has the same 5-6 teams competing. NFC has 8-9 teams competing. Simple as that. So, how I had it, Falcons at 1, Eagles at 2, they're getting the byes. Your first matchup's going to be the 6 seed Cowboys at the 3 seed Seahawks, and then the 5th seed Giants at the 4 seed Vikings. So, going to be in for a very tight playoff race. Some very good. It's one of those rare cases where the wild card teams are going to be favored over the division winners in the NFC, maybe even the AFC. Jaguars may be favored over the... No, Bengals would actually probably be favored over the Jags if I were doing the betting lines. Anyways, that's kind of what we've got for going over this. Now we're going to do our divisional breakdown. I'm going to speed through this because there was some negative feedback about how long it took and how in-depth I went, but I enjoyed it. So I'm going to keep doing it because I'm going to roast you about your roster decisions. This week we have the NFC South. Now, last week we did the NFC North. You can go ahead into the last video and find it. And the next week we're going to be doing 2 divisions. The AFC West will be 1, and then we're probably going to do the NFC East or another AFC team. So we're going to be doing 2 divisions next week. Looking at the Buccaneers, just real quick. Quarterback situation, solid. Winston's going to be there the rest of the cycle and be at least an 87 overall. Maybe finding a better backup replacement would be the only thing I could think of. But they're locked into RG3 long term. So it's right there. Running back's good. LaShawn McCoy is leading the league in yards per game, I think. Maybe it was yards per carry. I think it was yards per game. Plus they have Matt Bread and then Terrence West. So they got a solid stable of backs. Fullback's bad. Don't really care about it, though. They have the best receiving core in the NFL. Elite Mike Evans, fast burner Deshaun Jackson, and even faster, more burning Tyreek Hill. That trio is pretty hard to stop. Now, the Bucs are pretty disappointing right now at, I think, a 1-3 record, but this receiving core is nightmare to deal with. I mean, when Deshaun Jackson's your third best receiver, because I'd say Hill is better, but when Deshaun Jackson's your third best receiver, that's impressive. And then when this guy here's your fourth, that's pretty good. So, tight end O.J. Howard, a really good physical tight end, 6'6", 250. He's got 82 catch, 86 run block, very fast. He's a good tight. I mean, when you just roll 11 personnel, you're going to have an almost 90 overall running back, so an 88 overall running back, 3 90 overall receivers, and a 90 overall tight end. That's a very dead. You can just sit in 11 the whole game. If they pack the box, you throw it. If they give you a very light box with a 5-man front, boom, you just run it. So, offensive line's not great. This may be why they're struggling, but when you look at it, I mean, Trent Brown's not a bad player, but a pass block of an 81, pass block of a 79, pass block, 90's good, 81, 85, so they're not elite blockers. They're getting better, they're younger and progressing, but they're not great, which may be why they're struggling. Now, looking at the DNs aren't great. They're solid. They got good depth. These two guys are D Ford's hurt. I think it's just D Ford. D Ford's hurt, so its depth is a little bit of an issue right now. But their DNs are okay. Not great, not good, but okay. D tackles, they're solid. Gerald McCoy is elite. Now, if they had another solid number 2, they have 2 good guys here. Brian's going to develop very nice. That's why I put him at very good, not elite. Linebacking core, Kendall Beckwith, Kwan Alexander, Levante David, Brian Arakpo, who probably shouldn't be an outside linebacker. If he's running a 4-3, he should be an end. And that actually would probably make his DNs better. Anyways, very good 2 linebacking athletic cores with Beckwith, who's a little bit slower, but he's a good run stuffing linebacker. He's a good run stopper. So, linebackers, I give him, really good. This is probably a B+ if I had to grade it out. Almost an A, but Beckwith with his 79 overall kind of hinders him a little bit. DBs, I'm going to give him, honestly, a C+. They're not that good, which could be a huge aspect. Pass defense is broken. You need guys with over 91 in those thresholds. He has none. So, his best is Vernon Hargreaves, and when Vernon Hargreaves is your best corner at an 83 overall, and then you have an 11 overall drop, I mean, his man coverage, Chaz Williams, is good, but those zones are bad. And if you sit in man coverage the whole game, you're going to get sauced, especially by corners who have over an 84 speed. You're going to get sauced. So, not very good. Same with their safeties. The secondary is the weak link of this team. And that's the offensive line and secondary, the 2 most important positions in Madden, position groups in Madden, are the weakest links, and that's why you're seeing them be 1-3. So that's my analysis of them. Picks-wise, they don't have a first-round pick, so a lot of their needs aren't really going to be addressed, which could be, especially if they finish the year 4-12, 5-11, 6-10, could be an issue. You're going to be missing that top 12 pick. So, going to be a little rough year for the Buccaneers. Moving on now to the Falcons. Matt Ryan, I'd like to see a better backup plan. Matt Ryan's elite, but they don't truly... I mean, he's 34, so they don't even need really much of a backup plan. He's not retiring anytime soon, I don't think. So, I guess they probably don't. I thought he was a lot older than that. I thought he was 36 coming into the league. Shit, he ain't that old. Well, damn. Devontae Freeman, LeGarrette Blount, Sony Michel, Brian Hill forms a very good stable of running backs. You got the power of LeGarrette Blount, the versatility of Freeman, and then the speed of Sony Michel. So, very good stable of running backs with a really good fullback. Receivers, Julio's Julio, and he is elite, but the drop-off is significant. Your next 2 guys are under 5'8", and then your only tall guys are pretty low rating-wise. I mean, now, Jalen Horn has got some good stats, but, he's got good role pieces. So, other than Julio. Now, when you only have Julio as receiver, and you got these two tight ends here, Jimmy Graham, who's a good pass catching, and for some reason has almost the same run blocking as Gronk. Very good weapon, especially with Austin Hooper. They have two big physical tight ends who can catch, run, and block. And then Eric Sauerbout's not too bad. Offensive line's great. They have one hole at left guard, but it's not even that much of a hole. He's a rookie, and he's going to be getting better throughout the season. So very good offensive line. Defensive ends, very good defensive ends. Takk McKinley, first-round pick for him, hasn't even really developed a ton. They're very athletic. Whitney Merciless, they're all over an 82 speed. So this is a very athletic defense. Trenton Thompson and then Gabe Wright form another very athletic defensive front. That defensive front's all over 70 speed. So, and then you include the linebackers, Duke Riley, 86 speed, Raekwon McMillan, 85 speed, and then Deion Jones, 89. That is a fast front seven. Probably the fastest in the game. So that they're very athletic. Undersized, but athletic. And then you go Trufant and Talib is a great top two corner pair. That's very good. And then Robert Alford's a good... if he's your slot corner, that's not bad. He's athletic. He can play man. Darqueze Dennard is if Darqueze Dennard's your fourth corner, that's pretty good, in my opinion, to me. So, safeties, Keanu Neal's phenomenal. He's got the zone threshold, athletic, he can hit, he can cover, he can tackle, all that stuff. And then Damontae Kazi and then Quincy Wilson, that's the one hole of this defense, but they're young, so they progress nice. Especially Quincy Wilson only being 23. So it's a good roster. Picks-wise, no first-round pick again. I'm sure Matt will be asking for all your first-round picks in a couple weeks, but they really don't have a lot of holes to address. So, going on to now the Panthers. They traded Cam Newton for Goff. I wasn't a fan of the move, but they were. So, going to running backs, which is what they've had to rely on more, they got a great, what I call the smash and dash combo, powerful running back of Marshawn Lynch with the speed of McCaffrey. One quick thing about McCaffrey, his catching, route running, all that good stuff is like receivers. He is a receiver that plays running back. He has a better catching than he does a stiff arm, elusiveness. His route running is better than those things, than his ball carrying vision even. He can play anywhere on the offensive side of the ball other than quarterback and tight end and fit perfectly. If you want to put him outside as a receiver, you can. If you want to put him in the slot, you want to put him in the backfield, motion him out, motion him into the backfield. If you could do that in Madden, you can do so many things with him. Receiver, with getting Demaryius Thomas, they have a pretty good trio here. You got your big-bodied receiver to go downfield and catch it. You got a nice, shorter, slot, fast receiver. And then you have a solid possession guy. You got three guys who can do quite a bit of things in their game. Greg Olson's a solid player still. Getting up there in age, so he's going to start dropping pretty significantly here. But still a good player. Jake Butt is a solid number 2 tight end. He's been on the Broncos, the Cowboys, the Panthers. He's getting passed around. So he's like a prostitute or like a blunt or whatever. He's just getting passed around across the table. Offensive line's okay. They got a couple weak spots. Matt Khalil's pretty weak. Norwell's good. Wisniewski, however the hell you pronounce this dude, Wisniewski, Wineskaus shit, I don't know, something. He's not too good, and he's okay. Trey Turner's okay. Taylor Moton, okay. His O-line is just okay. Defensive line, they got good athletic players. Matt Judon, Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's very versatile. He can, if you drop him into coverage out of his own blitz scheme, because he's got a 75 zone coverage. Good rotation here with defensive linemen. Linebackers are great. Luke Kuechly's the best in the game. Shaq Thompson's athletic, very good. Now, he's the weak spot, so it's similar to the Bucs situation. If I had to give it a letter grade, B+. Maybe in this case, probably an A-, just because Kuechly's that good. But a guy like Najee Harris, who's undersized, wow, how is he a linebacker? Corners, Bradbury, Kevin Johnson, and Darnell Parks, all are good, especially with Worley. I mean, they're not elite, but they're very deep into what they're doing. Safeties are good. Sean Jones is very good. That's what we're looking at for them as their secondary. They got a good secondary. Going to go over the Saints real quick. I don't like their quarterback situation. Can't help it. Drew Brees retired. Don't like Dobbs or Huntley. Carlos Hyde, Pirine, and Kamara, solid. They play better than their overalls. Frey Stevenson, don't matter. They got two good receivers, and they kind of drop off depth-wise. Kobe Fleener's okay. They got a pretty good O-line. Why the hell is he a left guard? Son of a gun. Good O-line. Why is a left tackle playing at right guard? This is what I don't get. I don't get that stuff. Good DNs, very athletic DNs. Okay, I guess I should say not good. Very elite D tackle. Good D tackles. Linebackers are a little under average, a little below average, I should say. Except Bruce Irvin, he's solid. T.J. Williams, Marshawn Lattimore are good players. Marcus Williams, LOL. Giving up that touchdown. He's still good in this. He's okay in this league. Same with J.J. Wilcox. I can see why he's struggling. If his players aren't playing above their overall, it makes sense. Now, for the final part, just kind of give our final thoughts here. Trade deadline's approaching. We went over kind of the trade rumors. Andrew Luck, Zeke, etc. Those guys they may not be moved, but they're stirring some rumors here. You're going to be seeing people that don't want to sign these guys. They're going to start submitting trade offers for little. So this is the time to get your guys cheap. Upcoming offseason, you're going to see some pretty big free agents. There's guys who have quite a bit of cap, so there's going to be a lot of competition in the free agency market. And the same with there's going to be guys with little to no money. So it's going to be a very interesting market. Now, the final debate before I open up for anyone who's still watching that has a question or not, AFC versus NFC. Who's better? Now, I'm a little biased. I think the AFC in this league is better. Excuse me. Reason being, we have the 2 Super Bowls. We, as a unit, are better. It's as simple as that. Now, if you look at head-to-head wins, our top teams match up with your top teams head-to-head better. You guys beat up on the lower-tier AFC teams. Just dominate them. You dominate them. So, top versus top, AFC's top, better than the NFC's top, night and day. 2 Super Bowls versus 0 says it all. NFC does have more depth. I agree with that completely. But when you take your top 4 AFC teams versus the top 4 NFC teams and they play, the AFC is going to be 3-1. Maybe 4-0. That's my final statement for this podcast here. If you have a question about anything, want to go over anything, we'll stick around for a few minutes, answer them. If not, look to have one of these deals done Friday. There will be another one Friday, probably around the same time. So, kind of waiting for a minute here to have stuff load. Otherwise, Friday. How many people do we still got watching? 5? Okay. If you guys got questions, want me to touch over anything, that's fine. Otherwise, things done. How long did we run today? Actually, I don't think I can see that. Well, we started at 1:39, and it is 2:35. Oh, wow. It's been almost an hour. Well, that's a little too long. Maybe I'll have to stop the divisional breakdowns, because those take about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So, Almost an hour. Yeah, that's crazy. Thanks for those who stuck around. I'll promise you I'll shorten these things out. Didn't realize we were pushing at an hour. Hey, I just have fun. I'll talk Madden all day. I'll talk football all day. I made a new playbook, Nick. Since you're one of the ones still watching, you're one of the committed. Made a new playbook trying to emulate. I'm still obviously rolling with the 1060 Pro, and I really like that. But with this one, I'm trying to add a little more spread-based playbook, which is what's crazy because that's what I was saying necessarily is that in the game he was listed as a guard, but in the NFL he's listed as a tackle and plays tackle, which really surprised me. I think that was who the hell's the new guy who does like player ratings. I think that dumbass must have done something to it. But yeah, Nick, trying to get a little bit more of a spread look. Like I got basically all my power sets are set for like eye, strong eye, and weak eye. Everything gun and pistol is kind of more spreading it out. We're either going spread it out, or when we go under center, we're compacting everything, multiple tight ends, etc. So just kind of doing that, kind of relying on a lot of like mills, bench, stuff like that. Yeah. Also, for anybody watching who actually cares, I had a nice lunch today. Had some baked chicken, had some rice with some cauliflower, broccoli, carrots, and green beans. Very good. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a new scheme. Interesting. I'll talk to you about that in Coach whatever. Anyways, fellas, we'll see you Friday and then Monday. So go ahead and stop the stream now.